Okay, now that we do have quorum, Madam Attorney, we can open it up to reasonable opportunity to be heard, correct?
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
Okay, we have one card, and then I'm going to let anybody else that's here speak. So I will call up, I think it says Ian Cohen. Ian, your handwriting is a lot better than mine because I don't really, you know. You can an address for the record and
Sure.
then give us your comments.
My name is Ian Cohen. Iancohen. So, we good?
Yeah, you
Thank you.
that's fine.
So, thank you for the opportunity.
We have it here, so that's fine.
So, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. By way of introduction, as you guys are aware now, my name is Ian Cohen. I'm the President and Chief Operating Officer for Inspected. Inspected is a private provider operating in over almost 400 municipalities throughout Florida. As a private provider, we provide plan review and inspection services, just like the building departments do. And we work directly with contractors and builders throughout the state. The only difference between a private provider and a building department is we don't work for the building department. We work in concert with the building department. In other words, our partnership is documented through statute. So we have successfully provided services throughout Florida for the last several years, delivering over 150,000 plan reviews and inspections throughout the state for well-known companies like Lennar, Renewal by Anderson, Apex Home Services. And the only place in all of Florida where this does not work is in Miami. And it's sanctioned and approved by BORA. To put it bluntly, the Miami-Dade building departments are wasting time and money adopting and enforcing policies that are not consistent with state statutes, which has resulted in ridiculous delays, sometimes over a year, and has increased costs for contractors working with private providers in closing out permits. And they are doing this even though they are required by law to provide a permit discount, since we are the ones who are responsible for the plan review and inspections. They are doing this out of fear of being replaced because contractors now have a choice. They can either use a private provider or they can use the building department. Now, it's important to note that the licensing requirement for plan reviewers and inspectors through a private provider
I'm going to ask you to wrap up, but go ahead.
Okay. In summary, let's just say this. The city is completely indemnified from all liability when a private provider does an inspection or a plan review. They are in the process and in writing, specifically doing plan reviews and inspections, specifically inspections behind all of our inspections, and are requiring it as a condition to close out the permit. This is causing tremendous delays, and the statute clearly states that they should not be doing this.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cohen. Anybody else that would like to speak at this time for the public's opportunity, or reasonable opportunity for the public to be heard, please come on up, state your name and address for the record, and give us your opinion in a short, succinct, and concise manner. Somebody once told me that all means the same thing. It does not. Short, succinct, and concise does not. 2 minutes. Okay, let the record reflect that no one else has chosen to speak, so we will close the public opportunity to be heard. And I think the proper thing would be set the agenda, correct?
That's correct. There's no changes to the agenda, so at this moment, a motion to set the agenda is in order.
Okay, it's moved by Commissioner Cohen-Higgins. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay. All right, we are going to item 1E1 is an oral presentation from the Parks Department on identified efficiencies and transparency measures within their operations. And we have their director, Christina White. I don't know if I can say new director, but I guess new to this committee for the first time. So got a new Parks director. And we'll go ahead and do the presentation and see if there are any questions from the committee. And then I'm going to surprise you, but go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Again, for the record, Christina White, PROS Director. We have the presentation up here on the screen. At PROS, we are guided by our mission to create experiences that enhance the quality of life for our community, not just today, but well into the future. And our vision, hopefully you have seen this throughout the park system, connecting people and parks for life. PROS maintains what is known as a two-tiered park system at the regional level, serving our 2.8 million county residents and providing local park services in the UMSA area, serving 1.4 million residents. Our goal always is to improve health, happiness, and prosperity by fostering a lifelong connection between communities and parks. We prioritize exceptional facilities, recreational opportunities, and thoughtful stewardship. The infographic that you see in front of you, I know there's a lot on there, but it brings us all a great source of pride because of the size and scope of the park system. This is just some of the things within our portfolio. I know it's a lot, but I'm going to highlight a few of them. In terms of the assets, we operate and maintain 308 parks and growing, 40,000 acres of passive, active, and environmentally endangered lands, 60 recreational centers, 22 miles of beaches, and from an impact perspective in serving our residents, and again, this is just a few, serve more than 400,000 swimmers at our aquatic facilities, 200,000 rounds of golf, over 103 boat launches, and let's not forget about the zoo, which is the 5th largest in the US, serving 900,000 visitors annually. PROS strategic objectives provide a framework for the department's priorities. It's known internally as our 3 pillars, and they include placemaking and design excellence, which is intended to build beautiful and resilient parks for our residents to enjoy, health and fitness, and conservation and stewardship through constant education throughout all of our programs and facilities. These objectives align with the mayor's overall strategies, the strategic plan, and of course play a very important role in developing our annual business plan and budget. The department functions can be categorized into 4 categories, although they all clearly are interrelatable and interdependable, multiple crossover, and I'm just going to go through these very quickly. Enterprises and conservation, which is connecting people with wildlife, history, and nature. Our marinas, beaches, and golf courses and campgrounds all provide affordable, high-quality experiences and foster environmental awareness. The operations and aesthetics portion of the portfolio ensures parks, facilities, and right-of-ways are clean and welcoming. We, again, delivering affordable and engaging experiences. Through our park rangers, Ram, and Causeways division, we keep our spaces safe, functional, and beautiful. Planning and capital programs, this is where we turn vision into reality by building beautiful, resilient parks, plan for the future growth, and acquire land to meet the evolving needs, and maintain strong partnerships with our local, state, and federal partners to expand our impact. Lastly, administration, of which none of the other categories can be fulfilled without their assistance, supports our mission, provides oversight to the special taxing districts, and of course, all operations that allow us to deliver excellence. The table of organization is comprised of 4 divisions, and they're illustrated here. They're color-coded that align back with the departmental functions. We do have a budgeted 1,571 full-time positions, which is a reduction of 49 from the previous year. I know we talked about that during the budget cycle. And 1,008 part-time positions, which is a reduction of 67 positions. Of those positions, 84% of our full-time and 58% of our part-time are currently filled. That attrition is a combination of things. It could be, 1, a forced attrition in order for us to be able to maintain our budget targets that we've been given, natural turnover in staff as they leave and retire, and then lastly, some of the areas we try to be very strategic. If we're in a non-peak area, say summer camps, we keep those available but unfilled for when we need them again during peak times. And then there's different peak times throughout all of our different areas. Everything we do at PROS aligns with the mayor's key initiatives, not to go too into depth, but, certainly paying homage to the Resilient 305, WISE 305, and Thrive 305 initiatives. It is very important to note that PROS ranked among the top 3 community services that are most important to respondents in a countywide survey that was conducted several years ago by the Miami Foundation. So I will take every opportunity to remind you guys about that. The commitment to delivering excellence is reflected in our customer service satisfaction rate. This is something that we embark upon all day, every day. It does surpass the national benchmark at 89%. For park systems, the target is 77%. We have been nationally accredited for over 30 years, and in fact, just this last September, we earned the CAPRA reaccreditation with 100% compliance. This is an honor that the department is extremely proud of. It was new standards. We were the first large jurisdiction to do it. We completed it. We have set the standard for the nation with 100% compliance. Similarly, the zoo has maintained its accreditation for 41 years, and they too will be going for their reaccreditation later this year. So we are in the process of preparing for that. We're a 2-time winner of the Florida Governor Sterling Award, which is the highest recognition an organization can receive in the state of Florida. And certainly these emphasize our track record for ensuring efficient and transparent processes. A little more on the customer feedback. This does demonstrate our dedication to high-quality services and efficient operations. The way we solicit this feedback is through our QR codes that we have posted all over our parks and varying locations, as well as when you are making a reservation on what we call ParkLink, which is where you make your reservations to participate in programs or a rental of some sort. 92% of respondents replied that our parks are safe and secure. 91 are satisfied with the ease of registration, and 8 out of 10 citizens were satisfied with the quality of our programs, rentals, and activities. In terms of efficiencies and innovations, I know one of the things that you're interested in particular, across the parks and operations, we've embedded innovation into everyday work that we do. Saving money, reducing costs, and improving transparency is something that is a hallmark for all levels of staff at the department. A couple of those that I wanted to highlight because they're more recent, although the list is very many, is that we installed smart irrigation technology across 46 parks, saving 154 million gallons of water. The implementation of mobile field painting robots cut staff hours in half, reducing total field striping by 56%. Costs, I should say. Striping costs by 56%. By bringing turf restoration in-house, we also cut those costs by 26% per acre and improved our field quality, saving roughly $350,000 annually and giving us more control over the quality and scheduling of this work. And then lastly, I'll say that we reorganized our construction and maintenance operations into 3 regional hubs. It was one location that everybody had to leave from. Now they're in 3 different locations. So with that, we were able to reduce travel time for staff, thereby improving the work completion rates from 30 to 60%. And this means that we were able to spend less time on the road and more time actually making improvements to the facilities that needed out in the field. As far as transparency, again, this is central to the department operations, and it is how we all build trust within our community, something we take very seriously. Again, just a few that I thought would be of interest is that we actively engage residents and gather input during public meetings for all of our projects. I think some of you are familiar with that. The input that is provided by the community directly shapes the projects and priorities of the department. We're also transparent by responding to public records requests, both written and timely in a very short manner. And there are 4 advisory boards that we have at the department. They're listed on here, and the people that serve on these boards are mostly appointed through you guys. And then, of course, we track all of our performance through the department scorecard, and again, as I mentioned, our customer feedback. So this slide talks about what I know the mayor is recently referring to the new budget as the new budget reality. The new budget reality for PROS, as you can see on this slide, is that our general, while our overall budget is around $290 million, the general fund subsidy is $124 million. That is a reduction of $13 million from the previous year. That was what was in the adopted budget. It's approximately 16 million if you consider additional unmet needs that we had taken into consideration and we will be needing, which is positions for new facilities that will be coming online, hopefully during the first or second quarter of next year. Again, restoring funding for athletic fields and part-time positions that we would like to come back and try to convert at some point to full-time positions. But from last year to this year, it was $13 million. But I do want to say that it is important to note that these cuts were made very carefully as possible, limiting the impact to the community as much as we possibly can. So I want to reiterate, and we talked about this during the budget process, but all programming remains intact. So does after-school care, summer camps, senior programs, the Learn to Swim program, the Fit to Lead mentorship program. None of those programs were impacted offered at parks. And then also on the right side of the slide, that is in reference to the SIP program, which I know many of you are familiar with. That's our capital program. That too was reduced this budget cycle by $73 million, leaving us with a total allocation of $369 million. The last bullet there is something that you guys are going to hear me talk about a lot, and that is deferred maintenance. So the department has over $550 million in aging infrastructure and deferred maintenance, and so I'm going to be asking for your support in really prioritizing those needs. So with the $73 million cut, unfortunately, this is going to impact project plans that we have had. We've had no choice in some cases but to defer projects into future years. With the funding that does remain, the department plans to invest in what the mayor has directed us to do, which is to prioritize the most important projects within that $555 million in deferred maintenance. And to give you an idea of what that means, it's park improvements that focus on aging infrastructure, address life safety and regulatory risks, compliance with 40-year certifications, shoreline stabilization, flood mitigation, fire protection lines, things that are really critical in order to keep our facilities open and us be able to continue offering the same level of service that we currently do now. So this will remain a focus with the limited funding that remains. I will work with each one of you to go over your active project lists, what you have in your particular district that we would like to prioritize as far as deferred maintenance, and really talk you through all of those. So I'll be setting up those meetings with all of you very soon in the next couple of weeks if you have time for that. And so I'll end with the last slide, which is our ask. That is something that we were told to include here, and I'm very happy to have been asked to do that, because my ask is for your support. Your support in helping us to adjust to this new budget reality. There's one thing that I have learned about the workforce at the Parks Department is that they're resilient and they're adaptable, and we're going to make the cuts work, and we're going to make it as transparent as possible to park residents. But again, the support in prioritizing the aging infrastructure projects, your support as I continue efforts to really understand what the core programs are within the department and try to eliminate scope creep, which has happened over time. Know that the department will pursue revenue opportunities to ensure that our partners are paying what is appropriate when they're utilizing our parks for their services. And this will require updating agreements that most likely will be coming back to you guys for review. And then lastly, your support in helping us curb unfunded requests, because we're not in a budget year where we can absorb things that are not critical or already planned within the budget.
Okay, thank you very much. Christina, thank you very much for your presentation. I'm going to open up to questions or comments from my colleagues, because I have a couple comments, and then I'm going to take advantage that you're here and my colleagues can see what I was going to talk to you about in clear transparency, so I can show something to you. So my question would be really comments, and then one question. Look, I think that parks are a quality of life priority for any entity. Mr. Rojas is sitting there. He's got great hair. I don't. We worked together 20 plus years ago, and you'll hear from him later on something else. But it starts in parks a lot of times, and the quality of life for a young family, for even at whatever stage of life you're in, starts in parks. So, and it's not whether you do a walking trail, it's a marina, there's very different ways you can. So I can tell you, for me, it's one of the most important things, but I have two questions. Number one, you've indicated the use of technology, which of course I am assuming that we are taking advantage of technology for setting, if somebody's going to go golf in Palmetto or somebody's going to go play tennis in one of the parks, it should be easier today, correct?
Yes, and I'm glad you brought up golf, because yes, we are working on a new app that's going to make it much easier for people who are wanting to play golf at our courses to register. So that is one of them, sure.
Okay, and then the second question would be, you talked about asking us about when you talked about the deferred maintenance list. Do you have an idea of, or will you have an idea by the time you meet with us, how you're going to prioritize that list?
Yes, sir. I have it prioritized, and when we meet with you, we'll go over that.
Okay, I'm going to make. I'm going to see if my colleagues have any comments, but before I don't move, because I want you to see something. It'll be short, but I want you to see it. And my colleagues to see it too. If they can do me that honor, I'd appreciate it, because it's a countywide issue. I want to touch upon one thing that's important. And I'm going to talk about the city of Doral, because I was the mayor there. There are parks in the city of Doral that were there when we got there. Not too many. Only they weren't built out or anything. But those three parks, the city of Doral can't charge UMSA residents more money than they would charge Doral residents. Doral Central Park being one of them that was approved with a $150 million bond. It wasn't the park only, but it was one of the things that was approved with a $150 million bond. And I don't want that to change, because I think that, it was originally a county park. I gave my word way back in 2003 that, we're going to keep our word, and it's open to countywide residents. And I want to make sure, because I'm going to segue into my presentation in a second, that we're sure we're not giving up anywhere when we have a park that we've had in an area that's been incorporated, that our residents are treated any differently. Okay? So I just putting that on your radar. Do my colleagues have any other questions? Commissioner Cohen, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to commend you. I think the presentation was lovely. I think it was crystal clear. I was particularly thrilled with the public feedback section of your presentation. It's not often that I have the opportunity to see that. And I think it's lovely that you're gathering data from our residents and gathering feedback real time and presenting it to us. So I just overall thought that the presentation was very, very, very good. And I thank you for taking the time to prepare it and to present it to us this morning.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Orbis? Vice Chair Orbis.
Thank you. Thank you, Director. I appreciate your presentation. I know I've told you before, I look forward to meeting with you on the District 6 projects to make sure that our priorities are aligned. And I know we have a lot of projects going on in the district, so want to make sure we have continuity and the expectations that we had for our residents. So I look forward to meeting with you and your team on everything we have going on in the district. And I thank you.
And with that, before I go to my good surprise, it's not a bad one. The three of us represent districts that have municipalities. So one thing for us is to coordinate those efforts on the unincorporated side with the incorporated side. And that's why I brought up what I brought up before. I want to make sure that that's not taken off the radar. I know you're doing a great job, Madam Director, and I just want to make sure that that's not taken off the radar. So I'm going to surprise you, if you don't mind, with a brief presentation so my colleagues can hear it. Could you go ahead and put that up? There you go. Existing U.S. parks built on former landfills, because you mentioned to me as you took this position, I told you I have this idea that could really, really work. And we're going to get in a second where your deputy director, he knows what I'm talking about. But anyways, next slide, please. The first one was Mount Trashmore. I don't know if that's the best name in the world, but this was an old landfill, 165 acres. That was in Virginia. Took them 3 years when the landfill was closed to turn it into a park. You can see some of the things. I'm not going to read all of them into the record. But next slide. Then you have the Norman J. Levy Park and Preserve in Merrick, New York, which is a little bit smaller, 52 acres. That landfill closed in 1984, but it's been a park. It's been used by the community. It's got fishing pier, hiking and jogging, exercise stations. This is a great one for those who love composting toilets, which is really a good thing. Okay, the next slide. The Red Rock Canyon open space, that's in Colorado Springs. This is, the landfill area was only 53 acres, but this is, was added to the park. And it's important, which is something we'll talk about. It's been established as a recreational site since 2003, and the landfill closed in 1986. So that has obviously it's a humongous park. It has miles of trails for hiking and biking, rock climbing, etc. Next slide. This is my favorite, and this is the reason why I wanted to talk to you. But I've said it to my colleagues before, and I appreciate their support. I used to drive up I-75 all the time to a friend's house in Davie, between Davie and Southwest Ranches, and I kept on seeing this big place. And I said, that looks like such a big park. And, called Broward when I first got elected. We went over there. It's Vista View Park. It's 271.5 acres. Highest point is 65 feet. The landfill closed in 1987. Actually, they're still right by there. Part of a landfill is being used. But it was established as a park in 2003. It's got equestrian trails. It's got walking and running paths, splash pad, airfield for model planes, kite flying, fitness equipment. But when we toured the park with the Broward Parks director, we found out why they've turned it into one of the most used parks in Broward County. And I don't think that we should I don't want to offend my Browardian. Next slide so you can see some other pictures if you don't mind. This is Vista View right here. I don't want to offend my friends from Broward, but there's no reason. Oh, there's the burrowing owl. They're all over the place. I don't want to offend my friends from Broward, but the truth of the matter is I don't see why we can't turn an old landfill into what is a really, good asset to our community. So I'd like to go to the next slide. And this is what I've been talking about. And actually, Vice Chair Orbis ran. I forgot about that. She showed up at the race. She was not yet a commissioner, but ran the 5K race, Waste to Race. And I'm going to mention somebody in your department who, obviously, Deputy Director, who actually came all the way from Miami Beach on a bike. And we had runners and bicyclists from all over the county. This is an old landfill that's been off the Superfund site. The 47 acres adjacent to it have already been voted on by the voters of Miami-Dade County in 2012, before any of us were here, to be a regional soccer park. There's 660 acres. We were able to do, with the help of both of you and the rest of our colleagues, Waste to Race. Over 500 people participated the first year. It would be 660 acres. It's already got the trails in there because trucks were moving in and out for a long time. And the regional soccer park, would be right adjacent to it. So combining both, just to give you an idea of size, Tropical Park is 275 acres. Miami Park is 247 acres. There hasn't been a regional park. And the reason why I wanted my colleagues to see it, because this is not a District 12 issue only. It's a county regional issue. Whether the closest we can get is when we go to Opa-locka Airport, and we have a regional park there, if you look in that part of the county. But this would be the largest. You would be looking at approximately 660 acres. And I wanted them to see it. And by the way, we're going to have another race. So I hope now Commissioner Orbis can run it again. You're invited, obviously. You're a runner, so she's a really good runner. Okay, so that she could and it's amazing because as your deputy director can say, it's the views from there. You can see downtown Miami. So, and it's a great place to have running, cycling, etc. This is the type of project that we're not going to need hundreds of millions. It's going to, as a matter of fact, if the regional soccer park, which has been voted on, again, I repeat, voted on by the voters of Miami-Dade County in 2012, will probably cost more than taking this area and making it something where cyclists, runners, families, and maybe even people who fly their planes, model planes, et cetera, can use. So I just want to bring that up because I'm going to talk to you about it because I know you're a little bit, sometimes you tell me, I haven't seen it, but you and I are going to go to that parking up in Broward County, and you're going to see what Broward County did. I have full faith that you are more creative than all these people in Broward County. No offense to the Broward residents. I'm sorry about that. We got a parkland. Yeah, I don't want to offend them. But there's no reason this county shouldn't be able to do this. And I'm going to tell you something else. Talking to the high schools and the universities in Miami-Dade County, they have to go to Vista View for their cross-country meets. This would be a place that the high schools would be able to use in Miami-Dade County because there aren't too many places where you have to go up and down. Ask the vice chairwoman can attest because she ran it. I think you ran it all. I'm not going to ask you if you walked a little bit of it, but she was there, so she knows that it was you go up and down, and it's going to be a golden opportunity to also be a revenue producer because they're going to run in our parks. There's something that they probably should pony up on for their cross country teams and the universities, and so I just wanted to give an update to my colleagues. And since I had you here as a captured audience, took advantage of it. Thank you very much for your presentation and appreciate it. Christina, thank you very much. Madam Director, and we'll meet hopefully soon.
Absolutely. I look forward to it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Okay, we now that we did that, we have item 1E2, which let me talk a little bit with both of you why I think this is important. And I know that the vice chair wasn't here, but I know Commissioner Cohen-Higgins and I were. This is probably, we voted on an airport hotel. I was shocked. I think Commissioner Cohen-Higgins was too, and many of us that we didn't even know it was below the airport when we talked about these hotels and anybody who's been to the existing hotel knows that it's not necessarily let's call it the most modern. You wouldn't tell your friend to stay there, put it that way, even though it's in the airport at this point, because it requires a lot of work, which is why we looked at the new hotel. But, we voted on this almost 3 years ago. And my concern is it was supposed to be concluded or finished in June of 2026. We awarded the contract in October of 2022. So my question of the administration, I don't know is there anybody here from the airport? If you can come on up. Oh, Ralph knew. I got to tell you something. This is what this committee is created for. We voted on this 3 years ago. Nothing's happened. I'm not blaming you. I'm not blaming anybody in particular. I know there's been some changes, but truthfully, if you look at that, the winner, which was FDR, which, they stated that they designed this within building height limits. It's 3 years. We haven't even started. Pretty soon we're going to catch up to Airport City, and that didn't start because the entity that we award, the prior commission, none of us are responsible for this, awarded it to, had a worldwide scandal on corruption, which was Odebrecht. Okay? Whatever they're called now. I don't care what they're called. But so can you give us an update on this? Why 3 years after the fact? Then I'm going to ask you questions after I'm going to hear the excuses. But I'd like to know why we haven't been able to get this going, because this committee was created to look at efficiencies at the county level. And there are many things we still need to work on. And nothing's going to be perfect in life, not just in government. But the point is, 3 years later, and we still haven't put the first, shovel in the ground. So if you can give us an update, we'd appreciate it.
Sure. Good morning, Commissioner. Sarah Bate, Miami-Dade Aviation Department. Yes, the effective date of the agreement was August 2023. The aviation department has been working with the developer in moving forward with the design, and the Westin Hotel is currently under redesign due to an FAA height requirement. So that is where we are. There is a need to redesign the hotel, and we have resubmitted the information to the FAA, which is the entity that needs to approve any development at the airport when it comes to heights, and we're waiting for their deliberation.
Let me ask you this question, if I may. Have FAA height requirements changed from August of 2023 when you inked the agreement? Which means it was probably almost 10 months after it was approved. But anyways, have FAA height requirements changed since August of 2023 to today?
No, the issue is that FAA is the only one that knows the requirement for and how and height of a building will be impacted by the navigational, or vice versa. Then the hotel will impact the navigational aids. And therefore, this is why the airport needs to submit the 4 points coordinates for them to review that and advise us. The airport doesn't know the impact to navigational aids, to radar and all that.
Even with the navigational aids, and you're talking to a guy from a city that dealt with FAA height requirements for schools and other entities, because Doral was right by the airport. You're also talking to a guy that was in part of a city where they had, the tower, the radar, and all that stuff by Southern Command that helps the airport. How is it that 3 years, actually soon, 3 years plus, we are still, the promise that was made by this project start of hotel operations, June 2026, that's not going to happen. Nobody's going to build but aren't you guys the airport? Don't you talk to the FAA all the time? I drive down 36th Street, I see the FAA offices. Do I have to go and knock on their door? I mean, shouldn't we know what I understand that you're not the final arbiter because they're federal. I got it. But I'm not talking about the regulations. I'm talking about the reality. And by the way, if the entity that was awarded this contract can't do it, it's better to know it earlier than later. Because if not, we're going to be back in the same problem we had with Airport City. It was awarded in 2014. It came to this, two of us were on that commission. 8 years after the fact, nothing had happened. So now we're in double digits, like Al McGuire, the former Marquette coach and basketball announcer, would say. Now we're going into double digits. So how much longer is the county going to have to wait to have a modern facility to be able to compete with other airports? Because we always hear the same wonderful word. You guys are fantastic. I got to give you credit. Your public relations has really gone up in the last 3 years. Even though I get text all the time from my fraternity brothers about how they've been in other airports and they can't get on an elevator or escalator. But at some point, we as elected officials put faith in all of you to make some tough decisions sometimes and give us not what we want to hear. Listen to me well, not what we want to hear, but what actually is. Maybe if you tell us what it actually is, it's not what I want to hear. But maybe Commissioner Cohen-Higgins or Vice Chair Orbis says, but I want to know the truth. And that's really what we need to know, the truth. Communication, as I always say. It's better to hear the bad news first. I don't want to hear the bad news from the Miami Herald or from Doug Hanks or from some other blog. I'd rather hear from you. And then we can tackle the issue. So we're sitting here in, really 3 years later. It's not going to happen on time. Forget that. It's gone. That's history because there hasn't been anything that's done. And so what's going to be the solution to this? Does any of this have to do with the applicant that was, or the awardee, to use a created word? The person, the entity that was awarded? Because they didn't keep their word. The things they showed us, project start of hotel operations, June 2026. This is their presentation, by the way. They gave all of us, by the way. Vice Chair, you weren't here, but they gave the rest of us. Parmco, it said the FDR. Parmco actually argued, if I remember, one of them had the material that was below the ground, and part of FDR's thing was, we're going to try to do self-financing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But when are we going to get a hotel?
Okay. First of all, would like to clarify that pursuant to the agreement, they have until 2029 to complete the building. That is linked to them receiving a permit within a period of time. So we are still within the fact that they had been aggressive and they wanted to finish this hotel prior to that, which we will all welcome for our airport.
Let me ask you a question, because this is their presentation given to the 13 members of this county commission. And I'm going to read from it. Project start of hotel operations, June 2026. You now say that the agreement said 2029. Why didn't we get told that that was the case?
I'm saying that pursuant to the agreement, 2000, if you start from the time that when they start the development, the permit and all that, the time takes them all the way to 2029. They have 4 years, 42 months after they receive permits. Now, the department has been working with the developer. The developer has been active trying to resolve all these issues. They have moved forward with the surveying of the utilities, the relocation and all that. So they are moving parallel, and the department is in contact with them. So it's, we're making progress, but now we're waiting for the FAA determination for the new redesign.
So then I'm going to ask you this, because again, an entity that was awarded a very, very rich contract by this commission made a commitment to the commission by a certain date. Now you are telling me that the documents that were signed do not have the same date. So now I'm talking about another issue, which is when there's a applicant that submits something to you, I would imagine we would like to know if they're being truthful, number one. And number two, if for some reason they can't keep the timeline, we would be updated. You just mentioned that they had to move some of the, FPL lines, whatever things were under there. But we haven't gotten a report on that. I don't even know if they have done it, because I've gone to the airport hundreds of times since we took this vote. I haven't seen any change at all, as far as this is concerned.
Yes, maybe I misspoke. I didn't want to say that they've done it. I said that they're ready with those drawings.
Okay,
That is
so
what I'm saying.
they're ready, willing, and able in the year of our Lord 2026 to finally come up and say, okay, this is where we're going to start doing. That's what you're saying. But so you obviously the comment that they actually have looked at some of these things and dealt with them, they haven't done it yet. So this is my concern when it comes to efficiency. One of the greatest ways for applicants to get around their original commitment to the elected body, because our voters are going to ask us. And the airport is, and I know you know, a hot topic. Our voters are going to say, hey, didn't you take a vote way back? I don't even think if they start in 2026, they'll finish in 2029 based on that. So I just think that I'm a little bit concerned where the airport and the port, actually the whole county, not being communicated, us as the elected body, not receiving communication that keeps us up to date. Because the only way we can make a decision is if we have information that's clear and proper. I know that you were given a tough task. Basil got out of it somehow. I don't know how. And Ralph obviously did. But the truth of the matter is, this is an issue I'm not going to let go. Because this was a humongous, contentious. I'm sure they lobbied all of my colleagues extensively with reason, because it's a big contract. And it has a great impact on how people view the airport. And our airport is the entry or gateway, as you guys like to say, to along with the port to our community. But the airport is the one where they might land and then go on and stay in a hotel and go to the port. And no offense, but I'm not going to mention who said this, but even somebody in the administration has admitted to me already, the existing airport hotel there's no way to ever make it something that could be competitive with other airports. So, look, I'm not going to let it go. I think you need to let us know. You need to let the two colleagues of mine to my right and the others that aren't here. I think everybody needs to know where you stand. And when I mean this project, I don't mean you per se or the airport. I think you need to keep us informed. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to be honest with you. If we're talking about no progress by the year 2026, there is no way that they're going to finish this. It's going to be almost an impossibility to get this done by 2029. And then what's going to happen is somebody's going to come in front of us. It's going to be a bad decision. I don't want to have to, I'd like to say the government is a reflection of its elected officials. I'd like that to be true for a change, and be efficient, be effective. This committee is charged with efficiency and effectiveness. And we're trying to make sure that this county does that. And this is an example of what people point to. And by the way, I'm going to leave you with this comment before I turn it over to my colleagues if they have any questions or comments. You're opening up a Pandora's box by not holding yourself to a standard that should be better than just good. Look around the state. You're opening up yourself to a Pandora's box. You're opening up Pandora's box, and you're opening us up to a very difficult time with colleagues not only on this dais, but on other representatives. So I don't know if anybody has any. I've said my piece in a nice way, because what was going through my mind was not that nice. But either way, I think that it's I just like communication, please, and efficiency and effectiveness. We've got the state having press conferences about the inefficiencies of our government. I don't know the guy from Adam, okay? But he's having press conferences at a major public university saying that we are inefficient. This committee is at the front line of trying to make us more efficient. But then something like this pops up, and I'm like, man, two questions, just quick questions. When first of all, when did you submit the 4 points to the FAA?
The first time was in August 2024, and
Okay.
we received a response in January 2025, and it was resubmitted, I believe it's May 2025, and we're waiting. August
August of 25.
Sorry, August 2024. We received an answer in January 2025, and it was resubmitted with the new points in August 15.
Of this year.
Yes.
So when do you expect a response? Next year, I suppose.
It normally takes about 4 months. Obviously, with the federal shutdown, that might take a little longer.
Okay. All right. Well, if I base it on your prior comments on the August of 24 submission and the January 25 response, we would expect it sometime in early 26, first quarter. Would that be a fair statement?
Yeah.
Okay. So I am going to probably ask you, did you ever get a response beginning next year? After everybody has their libations for the holidays, I'm going to ask you because I think we need an answer.
Yes. As soon as
Truthfully.
we receive the answer,
Okay.
we can make your office aware and
Yeah.
provide any.
No, yeah, I want my colleagues to know too. It does no good just to send it to me. We're a team, so that's the way it works. But thank you very much. Any questions, comments?
I would just add that I obviously came into the commission after this began, so I will be asking for an update. Since the airport's in my district, I would appreciate an update on this matter. So I'll reach out to the director's office for that. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I thank the vice chair for stating obviously that this is an important thing to her. Most of the employees in District 12, most of the people that work are connected to the airport. So it impacts a lot of people. But more importantly, you see the three of us here, and I'm going to speak for the others even though they're not here. You're the face of Miami-Dade County. Somebody gets off that plane, this is the first thing they see. Your service, what it looks like, and an airport hotel, for those of us who have been to Orlando and other places, if we want to compete, you've been given by this commission the tools. So now you got to use them. Thank you. Okay, now we have one other update on a question. I think everybody knows what it is. It's a discussion on single trade permits. And I don't know who's going to come up. If Lourdes, are you going to do it or are you going to hand it over to the guy with good hair? Oh, all right. Oh, the two guys with good hairs. Oh, there you go. But listen, this single trade permit issue came up because of Mr. Cohen. And this came to me from residents, okay, because people working on their homes. It wasn't even the big corporations or the big developers. And I know that Lourdes, I know that you sometimes, unfortunately, Madam Director, you get a lot of the complaints because it's the construction industry, but time is money in business. And what I want to get is an update because the residents have complained, and in some instances, it actually comes from one resident that particularly said, hey, I only had one thing to do, electrical in the house. And then I got to go through 19 steps. So, and they're not Lennar. I know Mr. Cohen mentioned a lot of the home builders that they've worked with, and we all know that they're, private providers are an option, which is fine. I don't know if anybody on this, but I don't have a problem with private providers as long as they meet the statutory requirements. So, in fact, I think it's an option. Mr. Rojas knows I was never against it. But can you give us an understanding of what the process is? Because I'm not sure where we're losing that nexus to the residents and why it's taking longer than expected.
Sure. Thank you. Good morning. Lourdes Gomez, RER, and I know some of you are familiar with the staff that's behind me, which is Ed Rojas, is the unincorporated municipal service area building official, and Mr. Jamie Gaskin is in charge of our Board of Rules and Appeals Support Division. The gentleman that spoke earlier seemed to reference multiple jurisdictions, which, as you know, we have many cities within Miami-Dade County, all of whom have their own building official, which is a state officer empowered to make determinations on the building code. And Jamie's office receives appeals of those determinations. The private provider statutes outline roles for jurisdictions and the private providers. I don't quite understand them to be as independent as the gentleman described. There's a certain...
Lourdes, if
Yes,
you
go
don't
ahead.
mind, I'm going to interrupt you because
Sure.
we have a cleanup thing
Sure.
that we have to do, and we have to take a vote on it, and I don't want to keep my colleagues here unless they have to. There's a scrivener's errors on the end of the agenda. Madam Attorney, if you could just mention that. I know you need a vote.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. If you wanted to take a vote on item 6A, I want to note that there was a scrivener's error from the preliminary agenda to the final one. The July 2025 meeting minutes are actually not included in item 6A. So noting that scrivener's error, you could make a motion to approve the meeting minutes, which are for February, March, and May of 2025.
Okay.
Motion to approve?
Okay, motion approved is in a second. There's a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, we got it. We took it. Lourdes, go ahead. I'm sorry, I interrupted.
No problem. I was just saying that statute, prescribes roles for private providers and building jurisdictions under, the authority that it provides for those entities. And Jamie's group has dealt with enacting a common framework within the county, just because for our customers, it is certainly important to contractors to have predictable processes in the different jurisdictions around private providers. So, I'm not aware of any delay in our UMSA jurisdiction. I understand that there was a concern potentially in some of the other municipal jurisdictions, so I'm going to let Jamie speak to that, but he can certainly review those concerns in his capacity as the support to the Board of Rules and Appeals.
Okay. And let me just say that we don't control the municipalities. So we understand that. I'm really focused on UMSA, which is what we're controlling. Can we make the UMSA process more efficient? That's essentially it. But go ahead. Jamie, you got good hair too, so that's okay. Not just Eddie.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Jamie Gaskin with RER. Essentially, the private provider, as you mentioned, Mr. Chair, it is an option for contractors to use, even with the authority of the homeowners in these single trade permits to use. What has traditionally been occurring is that all jurisdictions have to follow what the law requires in statute. There are pitfalls or holes that the law has not fully addressed, and that has been shown throughout the course of the past 5 years at the least. Every year the legislature in that statute changes and tweaks are made year after year. The building officials are tasked to enforce and follow that provision of law to the letter. To those pieces that were missing, the Board of Rules and Appeals did develop a guideline to try to establish uniformity countywide in following those not addressed issues, or trying to bring uniformity in how all of this is deployed. There have been issues of building officials calling what they need to go, when they need to go out to the job site again to issue the certificate of occupancy or the final on the project. They want to get eyes on the project. They want to see to make sure that it got done, and also check the other provisions of law that are required to be in place before they release those finals. The Florida Building Code is very specific to that effect. It places the authority of the building official to have to not only do the building sections of inspections where the private providers are providing that service, but also all other ordinances and laws applicable to their jurisdiction. Zoning, flood, these are all caveats that are outside the scope of private providers that the building official is still charged with fulfilling and making sure that they're in place. So that's why when one of these private provider reports is turned in, there's a shot clock that the building official has to release and issue their final certificate, but it's within that time that they have to also address all of the other laws and rules that apply. They're calling those inspections, and the terminology sometimes overlaps. Well, I'm not doing the building inspections because I've got a report from the private provider for that. I'm going out to do these other inspections that are necessary, that are outside the scope of a private provider. So that's what may be causing the delay, because as these inspectors have traditionally gone out, they've been doing dual duty, the building code and these others. And now private providers have taken on one side, the building official is still responsible for these others.
Let me this is a question. I'm going to make a comment first. I would suppose that the state did this to be cheaper and be more cost effective. I'm not going to say cheaper. That's the wrong word to use. Obviously you can expedite things, the timing. Here's my concern. I understand there's a quality assurance check, right? But let me give you an example. Say there's a homeowner with only one thing, electrical, in their home, right? and they have the option of using a private provider, right? Okay, say they use that private provider. Then we have our quality assurance check, which basically is like, okay, you've already been told that under state law, through the private provider, it's okay, it's only one thing, but they have to have the quality assurance check. But the permit still stays open. They're not given a permit until you guys do the quality assurance check, correct?
So in that private provider scenario, a single trade permit as electrical, as was mentioned, there's typically only 2 inspections that would be required, a rough inspection and then the final. And those are the 2 functions that a private provider will be stepping in to perform. Any oversight by the building department would be very difficult to coordinate in doing any field visits or ongoing type of work inspections from the building department side, which they're authorized to do by law. Right. But that coordination would typically not happen in those single trade permits.
Okay.
It would only be at the final stage that the department would go out.
Okay, so that's what concerns me. If they can't have a closed permit, the entity or the person, let's just say, it could be an entity if it's a commercial building. If they cannot have a closed permit, or there's a delay in closing their permit, and my example was a single issue permit, but the delay is the problem, because the permit will not be unless I'm wrong, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm not right. Until we close out I'm using the word close out, but the inspection is conducted and we say, okay, that's it, it's a closed permit. In our records, and it's not a closed permit. So these are people who, one day may want to sell their home. They get hit with fines later. How do we deal with that? Because if we're trying to be efficient and effective, we're not really doing that if we don't, if the quality assurance check is, they can't get their permit till their quality assurance check.
Not that they have to do that quality assurance check. I'm saying that in order to perform those quality assurance check, if they were to do them, coordination is difficult. But that being said, there's a shot clock at the end. Once the private provider turns in a report to the jurisdiction, there's a time allotted for the building official to do whatever additional checks are necessary and issue that final, that certificate of occupancy. In an electrical permit, it could be as simple as changing outlets,
right,
to as complex as a photovoltaic system. Still an electrical permit that are required. So a photovoltaic up on the roof, access to that roof, the building official may require performing some form of verification there.
Then look, but what I'm getting at, and I don't want to necessarily, this is not about bashing you guys, but it is about efficiencies. And it concerns me. It concerns me that we can't, we may like or not like the private providers. I happen to like it because I have, as a former mayor, I know it can make things more efficient on larger projects in particular. But we always should strive to get things done as efficiently and not necessarily quickly, because sometimes super quickly could be, there's a valid reason why it shouldn't happen, but not also with delay after delay after delay, because time is money. I mean, truthfully, whether you have a law office or a doctor's office or a home, I mean, really, and you guys have come a long way. I don't want to, you guys have been fantastic. You've been great providing information, great thinking out of the box as a department. And I applaud you for that. Because dealing with people like me is not easy, so it's okay. But having said that, we should always strive to get better. And in this case, I have heard some concerns, for want of a better term. So I don't know if maybe you can give me something in writing eventually about if you have time, if you guys do have a timeline and what your timelines are, then that would go a long way to to have a better understanding. Mr. Cohen said some things that make a lot of sense, which is, really, we should seek efficiencies in building. It doesn't mean that we give up our idea that we have to be safe, okay? Well, I should tell you guys about that. I don't want to tell you that, but there's things we don't control. The state makes decisions in Tallahassee. Nobody pays attention to them until they hit us. Unfunded mandates. I'm not going to get into other things, but anyways, they do a lot of things that sometimes don't impact that impact us eventually, but it's not decided here. But the problem is, the buck stops here. Not to quote Harry Truman, but truthfully, and you guys are a reflection of that. And building, and you've done a fantastic job, but I would like to get a better understanding. Not today, because everybody wants to go to lunch, and it's Friday. But I do want to understand, I'd like to see the timelines. I'd like to see, Lourdes, if we have breakdowns of examples, from A to Z on different projects that we could, and now I'm going to quote Nick Saban. It's about the process, okay? You could win a national championship, but you don't have to start by saying, I want to win the national championship. Just do the right thing every day. Marcus Aurelius, don't ask what a good man should be. Just be one. Do it. Do it every day. I've gone from Greek Stoicism philosophy to football. But you understand my gist? We've been given this task. And I've got a guy from Tallahassee visiting. And we, as 13 commissioners, they ask me, why is the guy from Tallahassee here? I don't know.
Yeah.
I would ask him how efficient the state is, but that's a different story. I don't have that power. He has the power over me.
I just wanted to comment that absolutely we'll provide you timeframes. Our inspections are next day, as you know. I understand what you said earlier, that we do not control the timeframes of other jurisdictions. So I certainly would like Jamie in his capacity to assist in reviewing how these actions are occurring in the different jurisdictions, which frankly may not have the staffing and resources that we have in the unincorporated area to support the service level that we provide to industry. But that's not to say we can certainly investigate the what's going on with the different jurisdictions and address the gentleman's specific concern. I do want you to know that private provider utilization in UMSA is in the single digits. So it's a very low incidence, and I do think that's a function of the service level we provide, that we can be relied upon for effective service in that regard.
Yeah, and before Mr. Rojas speaks, I understand that because obviously he was with me in Doral when we founded the city. So, and then went on to be the manager, and he started in the building department, and when he still has the same hair. Yeah, he's the one I was commenting on. And I have no hair now, but that's a different story. We don't control those municipalities, but unfortunately sometimes, the complaints, they think we're all one and the same. And the same thing must happen in Broward. Local elected officials can be, sometimes good, sometimes a little bit, so I'm sorry, Eddie, go ahead.
Thank you, Commissioner. My name is Edward Rojas. I'm the building official for unincorporated Miami-Dade County. And just to give a little bit more global kind of context to the question and how we handle single trade permits in Miami-Dade County, for the most part, especially for residential and for homeowners, for the most part, these permits are over-the-counter permits, limited plan review. Some of them are fast-tracked. So the turnaround times are pretty much 24 hours turnaround time. Inspections, like the director had mentioned, Ms. Gomez, are 24 hours next day inspections. We had a little bit of a rough patch this summer because of hiring freezes and staff shortages, but we're back on track right now, so we don't have any carryover inspections. So when we do these single trade inspections, like Mr. Gascon had mentioned, in some cases, there may be a rough and a final. In some cases, it's just a final. We do these inspections. Some of them, we do them virtually as well to be able to facilitate for the installers. We do them on demand, same day, In some cases, for when the installer is there or the technician or the tradesperson is there, they can call up to 2:30 in the afternoon and get an inspection same day virtually done by one of our inspectors. Now, when it comes to liaising with the private companies, the law allows us to go ahead and do a site visit, and we choose to go or not to go. On some of these permits, most of these permits, we choose to go at the end of the job. Not speaking to Mr. Cohen's company or anything, regarding what he does or the quality of his work, but on some occasions, we have found that when doing these site visits at the end, some of the things are not lining up with the permit. Some of the things are not lining up potentially with the code. Some of the things may not line up with ordinances. And so we get a variety of things. This last inspection, when we go out there, it's done, it's available next day and within 24 hours. And it's not an inspection, it's just a site visit. And we're not there to check compliance or to see that it's safe for operation or that the equipment is safe for use. We go just to simply look at the paperwork that was provided as a permit. Is there one opportunity to look at it, to look that the paperwork that was provided matches the job, and we're done, and we close out the permit. We do have a relationship with the private companies. We are not against the private companies in any way, and I'm speaking for myself and for my organization. But we have roles and responsibilities. And so with building consistency through Jamie's group and through Bora, across the county, everybody was looking to try to build consistency in how everybody does it, because there's the whole spectrum, from completely hands-off to maybe kind of going a little bit too far on one end. I think that we fall in the middle. We follow exactly what the code says. We follow what the law allows us to do. And at the end of the day, our interests are our residents that we serve. And we try to provide that service immediate, and especially for the homeowners. I mean, we did a lot of work this past summer to provide a lot of opportunity to be efficient and effective when it comes to dealing with our residents and single trade permits.
Okay. Well, I thank the three of you for, and maybe what we can do, this goes to the three of you and Lourdes, I'm going to take you up on your offer. If we could have, some sort of breakdown, I'm not against us having to make sure that it's done the right way, because in the end, we're going to take the hit, not the private provider. But the bottom line is going to be, let's do what we can do to make sure these things are starting from the premise that, time is money, for a lot of individuals and entities. So if we can get a report on that, it'd be great. I want to thank the three of you for being here today and clarifying that for myself and my colleagues that were here, because I think this is something that is kind of bubbling up, and you may want to monitor what our good friends in Tallahassee are doing, because, I feel some sort of, we need the information to be able to say we're trying to do the right thing. And I thank Mr. Cohen for being here. And obviously, I think everybody's, us and anybody in the industry, is to be efficient and effective. So thank you very much. And I don't know if I'll see you guys. Well, we'll see the three of you probably before the holidays. If not, wishing you a happy Thanksgiving and hopefully a happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah, and Happy Festivus for those of you that celebrate Festivus. And so,
Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you very much. I think we're done. Thank you very much, Madam Attorney, Mr. Attorney. Thank you. County Attorney, not city. See, after 3 years, I'm not slipping away in my mind. Thank you very much.
That we are the third largest circuit in Florida. However, we are funded due process-wise at a rate of less than the other top 4 circuits, and specifically our case